Hi, I'm Terry Luck, Director of Communications here at Our Lady of Perpetual Help Church in Glenview. Time for a very special fireside chat. Before we get to it, let's say hello to our Pastor Father Jeremiah Boland. How you doing, Father Jerry?
Great, Terry. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today.
All right, we're in a little different location because today we are going to go down and check out the renovation progress of McDonnell Hall. This is something every parishioner is going to want to see. I'm going to turn it over to Father Jerry and our General Contractor Bill Sytsma. Before we do that, Father Jerry, maybe you can talk a little bit about the progress up till now.
Okay, so as all of you know, other than the church, the vast majority of parishioners, their most familiar space on campus is the McDonnell Hall, originally the Colonial Room. And it's where all of our gatherings take place, from the 9:30 family mass to the Women's Club board meeting to the Pinewood Derby to all sorts of events. And that hall had been last renovated about 30 years ago, and it was tired and in need of a facelift. And as you know at home, you start looking and well, if you can do this, why don't you do that? And while you're there, you might as well do this. So it decided we wanted to do it right, and we wanted to be able to have a space that will be in great shape for many years to come. And this required a massive infrastructure investment. Now, we had headwinds. The most principally was the COVID. The pandemic set us back 3 years, and we've been finally getting this project launched after a number of delays. It's exciting to see the potential that this new space is going to have for generations of OLPH parishioners. I can't wait to show you downstairs. Bill will be able to explain in more detail some of the specifics of when we talk about infrastructure, what we're talking about. I was talking to one of the electricians the other day, and he said, Father, 90% of what I do, no one ever sees. You'll get a glimpse to some of the infrastructure work that will benefit all of us for years to come. Let's go downstairs.
There we go. Have hard hat. We'll travel. Let's go.
This is where all the work and all the action is, and Bill is our general contractor, and he's going to explain to us some of what we've been doing over the last several months.
Thank you, Father. Hi, everybody. Grateful to be here. It's been quite a journey since what I think it's been about the end of April. In fact, it was Easter Monday that we started demolition down here. The project has included almost a complete overhaul of the mechanical systems, the electrical system, some of the plumbing down here as well as the finishes will look completely different than what they were before. As Father Boland was talking about at the introduction about how the scope of the project grew from the original inception of what was at the time I think envisioned just a remodel, because it was 30 years old, you start adding into, well, what about this from a mechanical standpoint, what about that? My understanding is one of the problems that had occurred infrequently, but is a serious problem, is the pumps, when there's periods of high water table and a lot of rain, had failed from time to time, and there was water that was causing problems and some damage. So how do you fix that? Especially during a power outage? Well, you have to add a generator. So the project includes a new generator to power the pump so that if there is a power outage during storms and high water tables, they will keep running. The generator, it is not designed to completely power up the entire structure. It's the pumps, and we also are connecting a couple of the coolers that are in the kitchen to it, so if there's perishable food products in there, at least they will be able to stay cold during that outage as well. So the other significant portion of the project was to anticipate that as the structure ages, the heating apparatus for the building is primarily in the concrete deck of this building. Now, my understanding is over time, because of corrosion that naturally happens in water piping, there have been areas that are no longer working. It is inevitable over time that that method of heating will potentially need to be replaced by radiators throughout the structure. So the decision was made to add in the infrastructure for future heating above the ceilings, below the slab, including penetrations up through the slab, prior to the remodel and putting in all the ceilings and everything you see. It's a wise decision, but a lot of work, including all the coring that had to be coordinated, some of it during off hours because it's, as you can imagine, cutting and coring concrete is very noisy. So all the piping is covered in insulation, so it's the white piping that you see up there. As it branches out, it goes over here and then it branches out to various areas throughout the church upstairs where if the time comes that the system is activated, a new mechanical system is put in for that pipe, then it's just a matter of putting radiators in upstairs. The other part of the project that was significant was the actual mechanical, so the HVAC systems for this space have been modernized. So there's two systems in the space. There are heating and cooling that are provided by what they call heat pump systems, okay, and you'll see these box outs. These will provide the heating and the cooling through normal use. But in addition to that, there was included in the construction, the design, the engineering, is a system that is called a DOAS system. DOAS stands for Direct Outside Air Supplement, okay, or Direct Outside Air System. And so what that is the system will track when the hall is full, it will monitor the amount of carbon dioxide buildup. Okay, and when it gets to a certain level, it triggers the system. So this is a supplemental mechanical system that then draws fresh air in from outside. You can see, the ductwork and all the piping that goes into it. Pretty substantial piece of equipment. It's custom made for the project. Took roughly about 16 weeks from the time of ordering to be able to make it and to get it on site. Everything we were talking about before in terms of the mechanical and electrical infrastructure, everything leads to this equipment that was placed out here. So come on in, let's take a look. Watch your step. So we had discussed the two different mechanical systems that were designed for the remodel. So there is the heat pumps, which provide the daily heating and cooling, and these are the condensing units for the heat pump. These are the actual heat pumps here, and so basically the way a heat pump works is that it draws heat out of the air as well as cooling, depending on which way the refrigeration is flowing in the unit. So even on a day like today, where the air is relatively cool, we're in our low 40s right now, these units can draw heat out of the air and bring it inside. This is the future of mechanical systems, including in residential homes. This is the direction that things are going. They're much more efficient. Previously, we went into the mechanical room and we looked at the DOAS system. This is the cooling tower for that system. So in the summertime, this will fire up to cool the fresh air that is brought in to the unit. In the wintertime, it relies on the boiler for the existing boiler for the building right now to heat the fresh air that it will draw in. The village had to evaluate the location of that equipment. I don't want to say that it's not allowed where we put it. Maybe that's not the right way to say it, but they have certain rules and codes in the village where you can place equipment outside a building. Unfortunately, given the position of the building and the school and everything. There was no place else to put this equipment. So the village was tremendously helpful in working with us, meeting us out here, walking through where they wanted, or where we wanted to put everything. And they made some suggestions. They had certain requirements that they wanted us to meet from a landscaping standpoint as well, to try to keep the equipment hidden as much as possible. So obviously, with all this mechanical equipment that came in, we required a lot of electrical upgrades, including, of course, with the generator. These are our new heating panel system. This is called the automatic transfer switch. This is part of the generator right here. And then there's another new panel that was added back here that's part of the automatic transfer switch as well. It's a tremendous amount of electrical work. We had to rework a lot of the lighting circuits. As you can see now, there's a lot more lighting. There's a tremendous amount more lighting that is still going to be added to this project. There's sconces on the walls. There's going to be beautiful chandelier pendants as well. So that all requires new circuiting, new wiring as well. The kitchen, we haven't even talked about the kitchen. So you're getting an entirely new warming kitchen here as well. And all new equipment, all new tables. The addition, more sinks in there, so there was a lot of plumbing that had to take place in there. And then as a result, we had to rework a lot of the electrical in the walls to accommodate the new position of all the equipment that's going in there. As you can see on these walls, there's a little bit of paint on the walls right now in a few spots, but generally this project is a wall covering project. So there will be a little bit of paint on the upper columns. You can kind of see some of the color coming in here, but even on the underside of the soffits and the columns, the blue is generally just going to be an accent. There's going to be beautiful wall covering here. So Cecilia Mitchell has done a tremendous job selecting some beautiful wall covering. Over here is the new altar. We still have another challenge here that we have to work out, as we're currently working on the design or the engineering of a section of the altar that'll be operable. Okay? And so when it is in its up position, the intended plan is for what would be the bottom will have the same material as on the wing walls. So it'll look like basically one wall going across with a pattern on it, and then you'll be able to pull this down to extend out the altar platform.
This will be maybe one of the more striking changes to McDonnell Hall from our old-time parishioners. We had Mass where the altar was in front of the stage, and when we were evaluating the location of the altar, one of the challenges we always had is, people are coming down from upstairs through the south vestibule, and they tend to walk right by the side of the altar, and then every time someone has to go to the bathroom, and when you have a church full of kids who are constantly going to the bathroom, it was very distracting. Having the altar on this side of the room will allow far more focus on the celebration of the Eucharist, and then it won't be so frustrating for parents when they have to deal with their children that they won't be a distraction or interrupting anything. So it's a new design. I think it's going to be a great enhancement of this space. It'll certainly look much more like a liturgical space for liturgy when the platform is pulled down with the altar. You'll have much more of a sense of, being in a sanctuary.
We had talked before about all the coring that had to happen in the floor up above, and the fact that the floor is full of hot water pipes. And at one point, so the question was, are there any actual as-built drawings that show where the pipes are? And I had spent about 3-4 hours one day, I think it was at the Parish Center, and you have a special plan room up there. And I went through probably about 30 rolls of drawings, and I actually found the plans with the piping. So that was instrumental, because that was able to tell us in a few places where we shouldn't be coring. We were very fortunate. We actually only hit one. and we were able to patch that. We were less fortunate because we actually found a piece of conduit that had a significant electrical circuit inside it, and of course that was something that typically is not in an as-built in terms of where those locations of those conduits are. And we hit one of those, and it took out it took out the organ, I know, and it took out a few other critical circuits, so we had to temporarily get those back up to speed, figure out how to rewire those. So that was one of the challenges.
Well, Father Jerry, that's really amazing. And I really like that you were able to show people things that will really be behind the scenes once the room is done. So what's the time frame now? When can parishioners expect to enjoy McDonnell Hall?
Well, we're hoping for a mid-December opening. We won't have everything in place, but we'll probably have enough in place that we'll be able to have some of our liturgies during the Christmas season down. And hopefully by the first of the year, we'll be back online with all the activities that are about to take place. As you've seen, what a place we're going to have. And I can't thank each and every one of you for the sacrifices you've made. We could not do the kind of project we've done without the enormous support of each and every one of you. The hall is named after Father Miles McDonnell, a former pastor who was so committed to creating community. And this room will continue the legacy that Father Miles left for us of building community here at Our Lady of Perpetual Help. Thanks again for your support, and I can't wait till you get to see it. We're going to have a dedication after the first of the year to launch a brand new moment in the life of our faith community at our OLPH.
All right. And thanks for joining us. We hope to see you and your crew in the pew this weekend and soon in McDonnell Hall.
You got it. You got it.